born on this day in 1956. Sigourney Weaver shares a birthday year with me, 1949. It's a lot better looking. R.L. Stine, the American author, screenwriter and producer, was born on this day in 1943. Chevy Chase, one of my favorite comedians and actors, were born on this day, 1943. Incidentally, my favorite Chevy Chase movie is
Brent,
Three
tap
Amigos.
that mic to see if it's on.
Oh,
Is it
well,
on?
No, it's on.
is it on?
It's on.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. My favorite Chevy Chase movie is Three Amigos. In fact, that's my favorite comedy. I don't think they've made a better one since then. This is a photograph signed by the Three Amigos, including Martin Short and, of course, Steve Martin and Chevy Chase. Great piece of work. Steve Martin wrote it. Pass that around. Jesse Jackson, American minister and activist, was born this night in 1941. I remember an interview with Barry Goldwater years ago, who was kind of a hero of mine politically, but I remember an interview, I was in St. George, and they were doing an interview with him on the radio, and I had to pull over and listen to it, and he said, I told the Reverend Jesse Jackson that one of these days, one of the black people would be president of the United States, but I says, Jesse, it ain't gonna be you. I remembered that. I thought that took some guts. 1939 on this date, Paul Hogan, the Australian actor, was born. So he's, 74 today. Rona Barrett, the American columnist, born in 1936. And one of our favorites locally, made the national list, M. Russell Ballard, American religious figure, born on this date, 1928. I'll pass around a letter of his, Ballard's. Those of us just got through conference enjoyed his talk and the others. In 1895 on this day, Juan Perón was born. Yes, I have a Juan Perón. I have an Evita too, but I don't know what I did with her. I have to find her later. It's a problem when you got a big collection. Eddie Rickenbacker brought things on before. Was born on this date in 1890. This is the date in 2001 that the Office of Homeland Security was created by U.S. President George W. Bush. Now I tried to find it, but I couldn't find it. Kind of a semi-humorous poster that I have of a group of Indians in the Wild West that are the original group of Homeland Security. But I like that. I thought it was quite good. The Yom Kippur War took place on this day in 1973, and unfortunately, it was a bit of a failure. It was an attack by Gaba Amir's armed brigade. It attacked the Egyptian occupied positions on the Israeli side of the Suez in hope of driving them away. The attack failed, and over 150 Israeli tanks were destroyed. So one of the few missteps in the Israeli wars. Yom Kippur War on this day in 73. In 1969, and I was going to bring something from the Weather Underground, but just soon they're forgotten. The opening rally of the Days of Rage occurred with the Weatherman Underground in Chicago. I will have on display, though, I think if I remember to take it, a poster of theirs, which is the American flag on fire, and it's quite bothersome, but that's the way they intended it back then. This coming Saturday, Vexillological Convention of the United States is being held in Salt Lake City, their 47th annual. And they've asked me to take up United States flags and related United States flags. So it'll be at, well, it's going to be right next to Deseret Book at City Creek in a big room up there. If anybody's interested, from about 1 to 4 on Saturday afternoon. We're taking a lot of flags up. In 1939, on this date, World War II, Germany annexed Poland, which pretty well headed that into the Second World War. And in 1921, on this day, KDKA in Pittsburgh's Ford Field conducted the first live broadcast of a football game. In 1918, on this day, in the Argonne Forest in France, the U.S. Corporal Alvin C. York killed 28 German soldiers and captured 132. I have an Alvin York signature. I wasn't able to locate it in the time I had this morning, but great hero, received, of course, the Congressional Medal of Honor. And unlike some, didn't have to wait posthumously to get it. It's also on this date, in 1957, that it was announced that the Brooklyn Dodgers were going to Los Angeles. I got a little collection years ago. I'll just kind of hold it up because it may fall out, of the first game of the Los Angeles Dodgers, which was held in Los Angeles on October 28, 1957, after their move. And a friend of mine received this little pin, Brooklyn Dodgers pin from Walter O'Malley. Maybe I will pull out, pass it around so you can see it a little closer. It's a little hard to see. On the day of the first opening game. And then in 1871, this day, major event took place in Chicago. Supposedly Mrs. O'Leary's cow kicked over a lantern, caused a little fire that burned 3 square miles of the center of Chicago down, causing the Great Chicago Fire. Hundreds were killed in it. The fire lasted basically 3 days, from October 8th to October 10th. Pretty well destroyed Chicago, but Chicago was rebuilt very rapidly soon thereafter. Now, when I was a kid, one of the things that we were told was lost in the Chicago fire, as a Latter-day Saint, was the originals of the Book of Abraham. And it was, as you recall, when Joseph Smith took over the printing of the Times and Seasons as the editor for the first time, it was in the March 1st, 1842 issue. The paper got considerably more interesting after he took over the editorship from others. Ebenezer Robinson had it before, John Taylor later. But Joseph Smith put this little notice in that issue of the paper. I have an original in front of me. This paper commences my editorial career. I alone am responsible. I stand responsible for it and shall do for all papers having my signature henceforward. I am not responsible for the publication or arrangement of the former paper. The matter did not come under my supervision. Joseph Smith. Well, the very first issue that Prophet Joseph Smith put out had this little facsimile number 1 in it, okay? So, and also the 13 Articles of Faith were in that issue and subsequent issues, as well as facsimile 2 and 3. One interesting thing about facsimile 2, when it was first issued, those of you that have LDS scriptures know that it's quite a bit smaller than this now. It required a fold-out. When Mark Hoffman came to my store about a week before the bombings and tried to sell me some papyrus, which was real papyrus, but it wasn't Joseph Smith's papyrus, although that's what he declared it was. He asked me to go to a different Egyptologist than Hugh Nibley, but I'd grown up with Hugh Nibley, and Tom Nibley, his son, was my age, and our old man who was a warrior here in Provo, and I wanted to go to Brother Nibley, and I took it to him. And it was 5 cut-off heads that were sideways. You know how the Egyptians did those. And as he first looked at it, Dr. Nibley told me, he says, well, this looks like a hypocephalus. I said, the hypo what? He says, you know, facsimile 2, the round one I just showed you. He says, that was put under the head of the mummy, the mummies, when they wrapped up the mummies, the Egyptians. And it signified that this part, the mind, the spirit, go on. And Joseph Smith liked that because he knew it was correct doctrine, even though it came from the Egyptians originally there. And so that was why facsimile was put in the scriptures, facsimile 2. Now he said when it first came out, it was quite large, and the scriptures, when they first came out in the Pearl of Great Price, it had to be fold up as well, fold out. And now it's made a lot smaller because the point was that we don't really need to study what it means. Because what it really means, signifies, is that this part goes on. And that this is one of the great revelations of the prophet Joseph Smith. Now, one other little